in the cradle, loving mother, unstable, daddy gone under the table, but you found a song in your heart. So you learn how to fight, how to starve, how to survive. When the others blocked your light, you learn to see beyond the stars. The curse of small desires, easily acquired. It's time to set your gasoline heart on fire. Kill your demons, kill them dead. In your mirror, in your bed, in your heart, in your head. Don't you look good in bed? Slay your devils, kill them all. Take your throne, paint the walls. And if you make it out alive, hold that bloody head up high. Don't you look good in bed? Don't you look good in red? Is there more beyond those plains? You cut your hair, changed your name, left a note as you escaped. To thine own self be true. But there was no gold in those hills, no platinum in those pretty pills. Just werewolves tossing dollar bills in the wine dark sea of Malibu. The curse of small desires, easily acquired. It's time to set your gasoline heart on fire. Kill your demons, kill them dead. In your mirror, in your bed, in your heart, in your head. Don't you look good in bed? Slay your devils, kill them all. Take your throne, paint the walls. And if you make it out alive, hold that bloody head up high.
Alright, that's better. So, for those who weren't here before, I attempted to stream earlier and had my audio sources messed up. So I just stopped, deleted it, started a new one. So here we are. Hi, what's up? Mike from Wandering Pilgrim Games here. What's up, bro? I hate myself. I truly hate myself when I talk like that. So, basically what I'm doing here right now is we are going to talk about some new Hydra System stuff. So, for those of you guys who are followers of the Hydra System, or also members of our Gilded server, which, by the way, !Gilded in the chat, which I'll do that right now for y'all. Join our Gilded server, which you get a lot of cool perks, cool stuff. Which, actually, speaking of which, before I go too far into what we're doing today, let's talk about the Gilded server for a second. So, pull this over here. So this is our Gilded server. As you can tell, we have our members over here. Ooh, excuse me. So the cool thing about the Gilded server, let's full size it, is that in addition to joining, and being a part of the Wandering Pilgrim community. Ooh, excuse me. My God, perfect so much. Sorry, I just had a lot of pizza and soda. You get to choose what group you want to be part of. So, for instance, when you join this server, one of the big things I've always noticed with Discord is a lot of servers, which, let me pull Discord over as well. I have a lot of things going on. So, let's say, all right, let's go to Asians Represent, which is one of my favorite Discords to be a part of. No, I don't want to do that because they specifically do not want... It's a good example. Oh, all right, before I do that, I don't want to show anyone's server and have that be a whole thing. But basically, when you are a member of a server, sometimes there's so many channels, which is a good thing because you have a lot of things to talk about. But a lot of times there's so many servers that it can kind of be overwhelming. So, especially with Discord, which what I've noticed is it's hard sometimes for someone like myself, who I class myself as neurodivergent for a number of reasons. Basically, there's a lot of things where it's kind of sensory overload. But the good thing with Gilded is when you join, you'll come to this page here, the Wandering Pilgrim homepage, which has a couple different channels, and this is it, just these couple things. Now, the things on the side, there's the subscriber group, which I'll show you guys that in a second. There's off-topic, tabletop gaming, playtesters, and then collaborators. Collaborators is like if I want to work with you on something, I give you that role. But these three here, if you don't want to be a part of those roles, you just don't give yourself that role. So you don't see it at all. So that way it's a lot less seeing it at the same time. But if you want to be a part of it, it shows up on the side. So for instance, off topic, boom. This for instance, this is me doing my downstairs renovations. But so here we go, right here. Off topic chat. There's grouping up. I like to talk about food a lot because I'm a big fat guy. Vent chamber, vent chamber is kind of hot, hitting hot and cold on that. But there's a lot of things here that are all about, specifically off-topic things. Same thing here, tabletop gaming. Like post what he wants. For instance, I post a lot of pictures of minis I've painted, as well as other people posted their stuff as well. But that's kind of what this is for. And then playtesters is, when I'm trying to organize playtesting for Hydra System stuff or any of the D&D stuff or other TTRPG stuff that I work on, this is where I do it. So you can join that, become a playtester, and so on. Collaborators is like, if I want to work on a project with you, I'll invite you to that chat because it has organizational tools like Microsoft Teams kind of stuff, if that makes sense. So, the other big thing, too, is very much like Patreon. If you wanted to subscribe to me, basically, if you wanted to help support me, you can do that, and you'll get access to what I call the Wanderer's Rest Tavern, which is the specifically the Discord thing. Oh, it's just okay. Sorry, I get a lot of pings on different things. So I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. But basically, what it is it is more or less the private channel for subscribers where they get specific things that other people would not necessarily get. So for instance, I'm going to give you guys, you right there sitting in front of the computer, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. So for instance, we have my devlog, which is anytime I'm working on something or update something, I like to post it here and I give updates about what I'm doing specifically for, different things. So for instance, we have I talked about danger levels. Like I was designing combatants for Hydra System. Talked about maneuvers I was making. I was even updates on maneuvers themselves, like the maneuvers and the maneuvers updates, things like that. Other specific things would be art. Anytime I ever get art, I showed here, this is art by the amazing Helaton Draws. Sorry, I want to make sure that I have their Twitter correct because they are an incredible friend to Wanderer Pilgrim, but also an incredible artist. Helaton Drawing, yes. Which their current Airy Lee is their current Twitter handle, or Twitter name, I should say. So I made this. I have the logo. I have a little mock cover I made using some free assets, things like that. But yeah, so obviously when you get a hold of, if you become a subscriber on the Guild server, this is all the cool stuff you get. But, whatever you want to do. But for today, for what we're working on, we are working on different parts of the Hydra system, which also, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but I'm in a different room now from my previous streams. Yeah, so we switched rooms. So my wife and I decided to move my office, at least our office. I don't know why I air quoted that because most of it's our stuff. We moved into this new room, which now, because I'm fatty blue blatty, I installed a fan, which is very nice. Also, this is a Titanfall model. I love Titanfall. And my fancy travel poster of Tatooine. Oh, I'm fat. Why is it showing me? See the exotic deserts of Tatooine. But basically from there, new office, new me, right? That's what I'm talking about. But what I want to do today is I wanted to kind of talk about kind of the development cycle of a Hydra project. So for instance, right now, you guys have already known that I've talked a lot about the Steel Horizons Quick Start Guide. I've also talked a lot about the Lorekeeper Codex, which the Lorekeeper Codex is the game runner guide for people who want to run a setting of the Hydra system. So, for instance, Steel Horizons is a setting of the Hydra system. So, basically, I've already had made the quick start guide, try to call it, the quick start guide, which kind of shows you what it would look like to play Steel Horizons. But on top of that, the Lore Keeper Codex is more or less like an overarching supplement that will show you not only how to run Steel Horizons, but also how to run any Hydra system game. One thing you'll notice once you pick up the Lore Keeper Codex is a lot of it is not, how do I explain this? It's not specifically written towards one setting or the other. It's very general. And the idea I had when I first made the Hydra system, probably, was it a year ago at this point? Yeah, probably. I think it's been over a year since I first came up with the idea for the Hydra system. But when I first designed it, the idea of the system, but also the reason why it's called the Hydra system, is because I wanted people to be able to hack it into anything they wanted. So, Hydra, hack the head off, 2 more grow back. It's a joke. A little play on words of, more and more systems can grow from the Hydra system. Which I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but yeah, that's why it's called the Hydra system. But regardless, where was I going with this? I'm sorry. My brain is ridiculous as of late. But basically what's going on with the Hydra system is there are multiple settings. And with each setting, I personally like to add new things. So I've talked about Steel Horizons. I think I've briefly mentioned the Badlands, which is my my Wild West setting. Supernatural Wild West, more like. But the third setting, when I first came up with the idea for the Hydra system, I had 3 settings. I had Steel Horizons, Badlands, and I had a, as of yet unnamed, sci-fi system. Or setting. Sorry, not system, setting. Which, as of recently, I have come up with a name for it, which is what we're looking at right now. The Starfang Chronicles. So the Starfang Chronicles is another Hydra system setting. This one dealing with more sci-fi stuff. So what you're seeing in front of you right now is just my brainstorming page, which every time I ever make a new setting or anytime I ever make a new area of the Hydra system, I love to make a brainstorming page, which always has 3 main things first. It has the archetypes, the backgrounds, and potential enemies. So looking through this, you'll notice that in every Hydra system there are, let me double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 main archetypes. That these 6 archetypes are in every single Hydra system. They may have different names to fit the setting, but they are always the same core archetype. So let me actually jump over real quick to... Yes, I'm obsessed with the Witcher TTRPG recently, which is why all this stuff's in here. Steel Horizons Player's Guide. Okay, so this is a little thing that I made before, which this is the eventual next product, the Steel Horizons Player's Guide. So the main archetypes, the ones that will be in every single Hydra system, at least the ones that I make. I mean, if you want to make one yourself, feel free, do whatever you want. Bruiser. So we have Bruiser, the hand-to-hand melee combatant. The Crackshot, which is ranged combatant, very skilled with ranged weapons. The Fixer, which the Fixer is more or less kind of like a, not necessarily a healer, but more like someone who gives buffs. There's the Pathfinder, which is like a scout or a roguish kind of character. The Sawbones is the healer. Sawbones is kind of like a doctor, being able to figure out how to heal people. And then there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, cool. And then the Slinger. The Slinger is more or less my take on what would be a mage, so to speak. So for instance, in Steel Horizons, a Slinger is somebody who they have a power core of... So in universe of Steel Horizons, there's a material called Pyrecium, which the Pyrecium, they take the material, they put it in this little metallic container, and they draw power from it to cast spells, quote unquote. But yeah, that changes from setting to setting. So for instance, in Starfang, we have those same classes, but they have different names. So for instance, the Sawbones, which is your healer, becomes just a doctor. The Bruiser, actually, I changed that, didn't I? Yeah, the Bruiser is actually now the Soldier. And did I come up with a new... I did, okay, that's the thing. So sorry, you're seeing some stuff in progress. So the Bruiser is now a Soldier. You know, because sci-fi, you have your different armies, you have your your commanders, you have your soldiers. The Crackshot becomes a smuggler. Obviously, I love Han Solo. The Pathfinder is now a spy, because in this specific setting, there's a lot of like intrigue and kind of double crossing. So instead of it being just like a full-on scout, I thought it'd be better to make it into more of a spy, where like they're trying to out of combat at least, they're trying to uncover secrets and try to further the aim of their own selves or party or government, whatever they want. The Smuggler, Soldier, Doctor, yeah. And then Fixer and Slinger both stay the same because those both fit into sci-fi, in my opinion at least. Fixer is a tech-based guy who tries to buff you. That fits. And Slinger, the main difference with sci-fi is that instead of it being a specific material or pyrecium, as it was in Steel Horizons, it may be a different kind of material, or maybe some sort of inherent force, kind of like, you know, the Force from Star Wars, or even just something like some form of technology, more or less. Which actually, now that I think about it, I think I did change it to... I could have sworn I changed it to... Yeah, I did. I did change it. So it's a cyborg now, where instead of it being, you know, based off that material, I think it's like you have cybernetic parts, which now allow you to cast these spells or whatever they manifest themselves as. And then we have our backgrounds. So very much like, also seeing the question mark, that's because I'm trying to figure out a new name for this specific archetype. Because I already had it be, this was a soldier, but then the Bruiser became a gladiator. But in my mind, that didn't seem different enough. It kind of felt like they were filling mostly the same role. So I'm trying to figure out something else that could fit in that position, which we'll talk about that later. But we get to backgrounds, which backgrounds is more or less the same thing as archetypes, where there are a couple core ones that are shared among every single Hydra system. Again, the ones that I make. When you make your own, you can do whatever backgrounds you want, whatever archetypes you want. So the ones that are shared, hold on, I'm sorry, I have to pull this up again because I actually forget. I always do this when I'm on screen. Backgrounds. So we have the Brawler, the Drifter, the Entertainer, the Inventor, and the Savant, I believe, are the ones that are specifically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so the Brawler, Drifter, Entertainer, Inventor, Savant, and Speaker. Those are all the backgrounds that are shared among all Hydra systems, at least the ones, all Hydra system settings. I apologize if this is hard to follow because I'm trying to make it sound simple, and I know that I'm already confusing myself because of the wording I'm choosing. But going forward, the Hydra system is the system itself, is the mechanics for the game. A Hydra setting is more or less the lore and the how do I explain it? More the place in which this takes place, or the vibes. Let's say vibes. Vibe check. I hate myself. So with backgrounds, Brawler, Drifter, Entertainer, Inventor. I almost said inventory. I almost fucking said inventory. Why am I like this? So, Brawler, Drifter, Entertainer, Inventor, Savant, and Speaker are the 6 main backgrounds that I use. And then on top of that, I like to add in backgrounds specific to whatever setting this is. So I added in Merchant and Reaver. So Merchant, obviously, it's a sci-fi setting. You're traveling the stars. It would make sense that one background would be you're a merchant. You go around selling things. You go around dealing with other areas of the galaxy. And then Reaver, exact opposite. You go around, but like you're going around, you're attacking. You're a very combative character. And then same thing for the archetypes. So the new archetypes I added up for archetypes, I like to add 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, yeah, 4. So I added in Bounty Hunter, obvious. You can't have sci-fi without a Bounty Hunter. Explorer, because I want someone who their whole goal is to go out and to like find new things. We have the Pirate, which kind of goes along with the Reaver background, but also going to be someone who's just very charismatic. And sure, they can be sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? They can be good in combat, but like I always imagine the Pirate as being more charismatic and more dexterous. They're the one that, like, you know, when they fight, they're like a roguish sort of character, more or less. And then now this fourth archetype, which is the one I'm trying to find the name for recently, because I don't really want. What is it? Sorry, I said notification. Okay, so it's nothing. Cool. Is I want something. So this specific archetype, it champions brawn and finesse, which this is the one that was the soldier, but then I then changed the soldier back to the bruiser. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to figure out what would be the name of an archetype that's a sci-fi archetype that focuses more on brawn and finesse, but I'm trying to keep it separate from the bruiser archetype, because in my mind the bruiser, which again is called the soldier in this setting, the bruiser archetype is somebody who they throw their body on the line. They're very resilient. They're the ones that they can take a punch, but they can keep going. It's like the Hulk, sort of, where they are a very aggressive character who they can dish it out, but they can also take it. This specific type of archetype is something I'm trying to figure out where they are incredibly strong, or both. They can be very dexterous, and it's something where they want to be kind of like easier to move around. So for instance, if we look at a different setting, if we go over and look at Steel Horizons, which I don't think I've released this one yet, but the where is it? Swagger, Brawn, and Finesse, right? Okay, so for instance, in the Steel Horizons system, the archetype that does the Brawn or Finesse choice is a Drifter in Steel Horizons, which is more or less like, it's kind of like a wandering vagabond that could potentially be somebody who's like a very good fist fighter, or could potentially be someone who's very good with like a ranged weapon. So I'm trying to think of something that could fill that role for archetype, for a sci-fi setting. And again, I've mentioned this before when I went over when I went through the Steel Horizons Quick Start Guide. What these words mean is that when you choose this archetype, you add a +1 to one of these two skills. So if you're a bounty hunter, you can add +1 to brawn, and you become like a tankier, stronger bounty hunter. Or add a +1 to mind and become sort of like a more investigative bounty hunter, somebody who is following up on leads and is trying to like set traps versus like have a one-on-one fist fight. So I wanted a class that could specifically be somebody who either is very tough in person, very physical, or it could also be somebody who is more dexterous, both mentally and physically, because when it comes to the Hydra system, finesse is not dexterity alone. It's not just, I have high finesse, I can dodge things, I can shoot from range. That, yes, you can, but it's more than that. Finesse can also be mental finesse, where within the Hydra system, if you're dealing with somebody And in a social situation, if you wanted to roll finesse, you could do that. Because in that situation, what that means is you're trying to like use double talk and kind of like out talk somebody. In my mind, the equivalent of using finesse in a social situation is when Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck are tearing down the signs saying duck season, rabbit season, and Bugs tricks Daffy into saying duck season. That is what finesse looks like as a social check, at least in my mind, which is how I designed it in this game. So if you used finesse in a social check, that's what it would look like. And there's many examples of that, of what each of these attributes looks like in a social check versus a combat check, and that is all covered in the Lore Keeper Codex, as well as the player's guides for these specific settings, which are all coming out relatively soon. I think I've showed you guys the Lore Keeper Codex before on stream, I think. But yeah, regardless, the Lore Keeper Codex is basically done being laid out. I'm just waiting on art. That's it. And then once the art's in, then I can plug those in, do a couple last minute fixes, send it over to the editor, have it taken care of, and then boom, it's out. But again, that's not what we're here for. It's not. We are here to work on a new setting, to work on more Hydra stuff. So we're going to be working on Starfang, which, as we skip ahead, we go to the lore of what is the Starfang. So, allow me to read this for you. The Starfang is an ancient construct that appeared centuries ago in orbit of the planet Galan, and it accelerated the technology of the planet exponentially. Over time, the Galantians expanded their control over the star system until they eventually moved on to colonize and conquer all systems they found. The Galantian Empire expanded throughout the galaxy and ruled for generations. However, eventually two rival factions, the Savicians and Etrusians, rebelled and broke off from the crumbling empire. The galaxy was plunged into all-out war. But when the conflict was at its worst, the Starfang disappeared suddenly. Now the three factions enjoy an uneasy truce as all search for the Starfang and its still hidden technologies. So, a little background here, if you'll give me just a hot second, this, as I go through my new office things. This right here, this is my binder from, oh god, when is this from? This is the Atreus Galaxy, created by, I'm gonna cover his name, created by me and my friend Chris when we were in probably middle school. So this is probably at least 20 some years old. But basically what this is my friend Chris and I created our own version of the Star Wars universe, because we're huge Star Wars fans. So, for instance, oh my god, these drawings are so bad. So for instance, this was my character in the Atreus Galaxy. This right here, this is Bartor Marx. He's a Valorian. But regardless, let me get to the main point. The main reason why I'm even showing you this, besides embarrassing myself, is I wanted to show you guys. Oh my god, what is it? My friend Chris and I made. Oh my god, so many characters. Oh my god, where's the goddamn. There it is. Okay, there we go. So we made an entire galactic map that shows each system. So you'll notice each one is color coordinated. So there is the Valorian Republic, which has been retooled into the Etrusians, the Galantian Alliance, the Outer Territories, and Savician Empire. So basically, this whole galaxy is already invented because your boy's a fucking nerd. And just to show it off real quick, yeah, we did like full on like things of what the sectors look like the planets, like because we're fucking losers. But regardless, put that back. That more or less shows you kind of what this is based off of. And the idea I had of the Starfang is I love the idea of kind of like Destiny, in a way, where, and you'll have to forgive me because it's been so long since I played Destiny, but I know for a fact the point of Destiny is whatever the big orb is, showed up one day, and that's the last city is under the orb, whatever the fucking orb's called. And I kind of love that idea. So the idea I took was that with the Starfang is a piece of, it's a giant moon-like structure that has all this. Samuel, no, thank you. That has all of this technology in it that the Galantians took, repurposed, and made into their own system, which then was sprinkled out over the galaxy. But the thing is now, obviously, the Starfang's gone. And the Starfang still has more technology in it. And the problem is, now that there are these three different factions, the Savicians, Etrusians, and the Galantians. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change it now, because I forgot that I called them the Valorians. Yeah. Bring that back, because I love the Valorians. So the Galantians, Savicians, and Valorians are three different factions that are kind of at peace now because the war was so devastating, but all three are trying to find Starfang because the Starfang still holds secrets that could potentially turn the tide of control in the galaxy, which is where your characters come in. So your characters could be someone working for one of the three factions. They could also just be freelancers that are doing whatever they want, and they don't give a fuck about the Starfang. But that's kind of like the overall backing of what this system is like. So what I want to do now is I want to try to figure out maneuvers for these different archetypes. Because the whole point of the Hydra system is that you as a player, you as a lore keeper or game runner, you guys collaboratively come up with these maneuvers. You come up with everything, basically. But I would like to at least give examples of what that looks like. So for those of you who are like, I don't really feel like doing this right now, like I want to just pick up and play, you can. So as you notice, some of these are already filled in because, like I said before, the Sawbones, the Fixer, the Bruiser, Slinger, whatever their new name is, they share the same archetypes, same maneuvers as they do across all settings. They may have some things change here and there depending on the setting. Luckily, because of the Diesel Punk setting of Steel Horizons, it's not that much of a change to go into sci-fi. I know for a fact I do have to change the Cyborg a little more because of just the wording of like the Flame Core, Frost Core, but we can talk about that later. But for right now, let's talk about the Bounty Hunter. So, jumping over to my my scratch sheet here. For a Bounty Hunter, I like to always talk about what I want this archetype to actually do. Like, what's the thing I want it to actually be able to achieve? So, I have the Bounty Hunter. I want them to have tracking skills. I want them to be able to, like, subdue opponents, like whether it's alive or dead. Negotiation skills, which may be something that may not show up specifically in a maneuver, but could come up later on. And then I want them to have tech-based abilities, because this is a sci-fi setting. So a sci-fi bounty hunter is obviously going to have some tech. They're going to have flamethrowers. They're going to have rope launchers. They're going to have a lot of shit to catch their quarry. So those are the main things I wanted to add to. Now, when it comes to maneuvers, there is a 1-point maneuver, a 2-point maneuver, and a 3-point maneuver. And I've explained what maneuvers are in my previous streams when I went through the Steel Horizons Quick Start Guide. But just as a quick refresher, maneuvers are more or less like the cool shit you can do as a character. So I'm going to take Thor from the Marvel Universe and give an example of what that would look like. So for Thor, a 1-point maneuver would be... actually, I can probably show you because I can actually give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into... There's Lorekeeper Codex. Maneuvers. That's wounds and maneuvers. So, here we go. These are a couple examples. Let me zoom in. It's a lot of zoomage. Okay, so here's an example of what maneuvers would look like for a specific character. So, for Thor, we have his 1-point maneuver. It's his hammer throw, right? He spends a stamina point, he throws his hammer and deals 2 wounds to 2 enemies in range. Simple. It's a very easy maneuver. It's something that Thor can do whenever he wants, right? A 2-point maneuver is when he calls down a lightning bolt, right? It's a little bit more complex, okay? And in this specific instance, an example I gave was that he deals 2 wounds to 3 enemies in a single line, and the first person struck becomes stunned, which requires a hard move, which we talked about that before in the quick start guide. If you're not sure what a hard move is, that's fine. Check out the quick start guide. And then his 3-point, his ultimate maneuver, is his overcharge. So for instance, when in Thor Ragnarok, when he comes flying off of the top of the Palace of Asgard, he's crackling with electricity, that's his overcharge. That's his ultimate ability, right? So he's able to deal 3 wounds to all enemies around him within his range band, and he makes a signature weapon attack. So more or less, if he's being surrounded, he's being there's a lot of enemies coming at him that are very powerful. He spends 3 points, boom, he overcharges. Instantly deals 3 damage to everyone around him in his range band, and then makes an attack. So that's kind of like his ultimate ability. Because as we talked about before, zoom back out. Every character starts every session of a Hydra System game with 3 stamina points, which they can then add more to it through different things through combat, which we talked about that previously. But now we go to the Bounty Hunter. So I like to try to give 3 examples of an ability for a 1-point maneuver, a 2-point, and a 3-point. So I'm trying to think of what's a good example of a 1-point, very basic ability. So let's try to come up with a 1-point ability for a tracking skill, a tech skill, and maybe a subduing skill. So something we can do is, let's think of the tech first. So tech's very easy. I know for a fact I want to do a flamethrower move, because flamethrowers are fucking awesome. But in my mind, a flamethrower, I'm sure is awesome. I would imagine myself, a flamethrower would be a 2-point maneuver. I mean, just to me. That's what I would think of. Also, and as you can probably already assume, I'm basing everything off Boba Fett, because Book of Boba Fett, and I love Boba Fett, and I love Star Wars. So another cool thing Boba Fett has is he has his gauntlet that shoots out the rope, right? So I'm going to give one called Rope Snare. I would imagine Rope Snare might be a 1-point, because it's not really dealing damage, it's more of a status effect. So I'm going to go with Rope Snare for a 1-point ability. Now let's think of a 3-point maneuver real quick. What is a move, whether a tracking skill, a subduing skill, or a tech-based ability, that could be a 3-point ultimate move? So if you imagine a bounty hunter as like an Overwatch character, what's their ultimate move? What's the move they do that's like, holy shit, I got it, let's do it? Okay, so to me, as I'm thinking of it right now, I'm imagining something like, what is his fucking name now? Because of the fucking Blizzard shit. Whatever the cowboy's name is, the cowboy's new name, whatever that is, he has an ability called High Noon, right? So he hits it and boom, 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 he unloads his gun. There it is, unload. I'm going to call it Unload, which will be a 3-point maneuver. Which, let's actually give, gives status effect to root enemy in place. Flamethrower is damage and burn status. Burn is a status effect in Hydra System. Unload will be... now here's the thing. Do I want Unload to be something that deals a lot of damage to one enemy, or deals damage to everyone around you? So I would imagine a sci-fi bounty hunter who has a maneuver named Unload. he's not trying to kill his target. Because I would imagine a bounty hunter would want to keep his target alive. Because I would imagine it's more credits to be left alive versus dead. So for me, unload might be a maneuver he would use to take out all of his target's minions. Yeah, we're going to do that. So we're going to say he deals 3 wounds to all enemies. Deals 3 wounds to all enemies. 1 range band away. So I'll tweak these obviously as we go on. And I know I'm not exactly explaining range bands, but I can do it real quick. So when you are a character, there are 3 major range bands to deal with. There is engaged, which is like right up on you. There is mid, which is like probably just outside of arm's reach, a little bit further. And there's long, where long is like, long is like from 20 feet and beyond. And then outside of that is just like out of range, more or less. So unload, I would say all enemies in mid-range, because I would imagine that the bounty hunter is a ranged character. Because I know I gave the bounty hunter brawn, right? The bounty hunter has brawn and mind. So I do think that but again, actually, now that I'm just thinking of it right now, so the cool thing about your characters is because you determine how these maneuvers look. So unload, deal 3 enemies to all enemies in mid-range, deal 3 wounds to all enemies in mid-range. What that can look like is if you are a more mind-based bounty hunter, you're firing off flamethrower, shock taser, whatever you want. But if you're more of a brawn-based one, maybe that's you like shooting off rockets, or you're rushing up real quick, knocking people out, but then running back to your spot. It can look like whatever you want it to look like. And that's the whole point of the Hydra system. It's that when you design these moves, or when you use these maneuvers, you get to decide what it looks like, and you get to decide how it plays out narratively in the game. Because as always, the Hydra system is a cinematic and narrative system above all else. At least that's the way I design it. Okay, so we've got 1 of each. So let's add these in. So 1 point maneuver, we've got the rope snare. If I spell anything correctly, that'd be great. What rope snare? 1 enemy takes, we'll say it takes 1 wound. And cannot move until your next action. That's simple enough. Boom. Okay. So rope snare, you spend a stamina, they take a wound, and they are wrapped up and cannot move at all. All right. So 2-point maneuver, we have flamethrower. If I could spell anything correctly the first try, I would be genuinely surprised. Flamethrower. So what did I say for flamethrower? I said we want to give status effect. Sorry, we want to do damage and burn status. So here's the thing. I'm kind of wondering now, do I want to take rope snare and have it not deal any damage, but it just specifically roots an enemy, maybe even 2 enemies? I think I do want to do that because I don't want everything to be damage based, if that makes sense. So we'll have choose 1 target to be choose 1 target. Target cannot move until your next turn, next action. Cool. Now flamethrower, that will deal damage. So deal 2 wounds, because it's a flamethrower. 2 wounds. And give target, so deal 2 wounds to 1 target, and give the burn. condition. Oh my god. Please, for the love of God. Here we go. And give the burn condition. Which, the burn condition... Which, if we jump to this, which just to show you guys, because I want you guys to know what the stuff means as I'm making it. So I don't want you guys to look at it and be like, what the fuck does that mean? Burn. Burn. So, burn condition is target takes +1 additional wound on the next attack against them. So basically, that's your way of, if you're the bounty hunter, let's say, for instance, you know the person acting next, which, by the way, in the Hydra system, the players determine the initiative. So, you know you have your crack shot going next, who is like, it does an incredible amount of damage. So you're like, listen, I'm going to help you out. You raise the flamethrower, deal 2 wounds already, and then whatever person attacks that target next automatically gains 1 additional wound. So you have that burn condition. And most conditions last until your next action. So that's why I don't have to specify that there. But now we have our 3-point maneuver, which will be our unload. So unload. Hold on, let me change the song real quick, because I have a hankering for listening to... Where is it? Come on. There it is. Boom. Amazing fucking song this is. Turn up a little bit in my ears. There we go. Also, in case you're wondering, this is the Midnight I'm listening to, which is... they've come out and said on Twitch, you can listen to whatever you want because they don't give a shit because they're cool. Baby, here's I am. Alright, I'm not gonna do that. I have a terrible singing voice. So, unload. Unload, we said, was... We said unload would be deal 3 wounds to all enemies in mid-range. So, what I'm thinking of now is, do I want that to be the only thing that happens, or do I want... I think something cooler with that would be... So I'm still going to have the wounds, so we'll do deal 2 this time. So deal 2 wounds to all enemies in mid-range, and all enemies must attack you until your next action. So I think it's cooler because if it's your ultimate ability, you're dealing damage to everybody, but then you're also pulling all that aggro onto yourself. Because I would imagine a bounty hunter. Again, I'm going off Star Wars. If you're in a group of people and a bounty hunter attacks you, you want to kill the bounty hunter first. So I would imagine that as this bounty hunter comes up and unloads into the whole group, dealing all this damage, all the guys are like, yo, we gotta take him out first. So until your next action, they'll all attack you. Which I think I like it. I like that a lot. But you know what? I will up it back to 3, because I do think for having such a downside of you being attacked until your next action, which could happen a lot or could happen not at all, depending on how your team rolls, maybe it'd be better if you give them the 3 wounds up front, because a lot of enemies, especially the low dangers and the moderate dangers, I mean, they only have anywhere from 2 to 5 wounds anyway. So that might not be a bad idea. Cool. Okay. So with that, we have a 1 point, a 2 point, and a 3 point. So we've got these taken care of. So let's do the same thing again. So another 1 point, another 2 point, and another 3 point. All right. So what is another 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point maneuver we can do based off of the bounty hunter archetype? You know what? I have one. So I'm gonna call this one "Suck It Up." It's gonna be heal. If you're I would imagine as a bounty hunter, I might change the name, obviously, but like I think as a bounty hunter, it would be great to spend. This might be a 2 point maneuver as well. It's a 2 point maneuver. So, like, yeah, I can imagine you're getting hurt, you're getting shot at, and you're like, oh, suck it up! And then you heal yourself and kind of keep going. Sort of like, if you've played D&D 5th edition, sort of like Second Wind for a fighter. I kind of like that. So, all right, so we've got that for the 2-point maneuver. I think, all right, I'm going to call this one Ambush. And this is going to be a 1-point maneuver. And what this basically is going to be is there is a bit of movement play in the Hydra system, so I think it'd be good to have the bounty hunter be able to move freely. So I'm gonna say move 1 range band, and deal one wound to target in new range band. So okay, yeah, I love that. So the ambush will be basically if the bounty hunter needs to close range, they can move that 1 range band and then instantly deal 1 wound to whatever target is in that new range band. So for instance, let's say you're playing a melee focused bounty hunter and you have a target that's in mid range, but you do your most damage in engaged range. So by using this 1-point maneuver, you immediately close range, become engaged, deal 1 wound immediately, and then your next action you can follow up with your more powerful attacks. Love it. Okay, now we need a 3-point maneuver. So monsters. So what would be a 3-point maneuver for a sci-fi bounty hunter? We've already got unload, which could be either unloading a gun or unloading physically. I'm actually gonna choose. Yeah, I'm gonna change the way that's worded. I'm gonna say choose up to. I'm gonna reduce it. Choose up to 2 enemies within engaged or mid-range. All targets take 3 wounds. I'm gonna get rid of the second part then, because I think that's a better idea. That unload is you can shoot people from more ranges. Oh, hey Randy, how's it going? Sort of a marketing thing? Yeah, yeah, in a way. Yeah, I like that. All right, hold on. What? Sorry, I'm having. There's a fucking Discord messages. Okay, cool. But yes. Oh, thank you, Rennie. Yeah. So. Yeah. So I'm imagining that we're gonna change that to. It's going. It is going. I'm gonna change that instead to choose 2 enemies within in ranged or mid range. So you can have 1 in engaged, 1 in mid, 2 in mid, 2 in engaged, whatever you want to do. And they take 3 wounds. So I'll get rid of the all enemies attack you. Actually, you know what? Why don't I? So we're gonna have our 3-point maneuver in a second. Let's just. But I want to add in real quick a 1-point maneuver. I'm gonna call it decoy. All enemies must attack you until your next turn or next action. But I think I might add some. So, gain 4 wounds. You know what? I'm gonna get rid of Suck It Up, or I'll make Suck It Up a 1-point maneuver, and then this will be a 2-point maneuver. So basically, I want this to be you immediately heal yourself, but you're attacked by everybody. until your next action. So I think I like that a lot better. So we'll say heal. Heal. We'll do heal 3. 4 is too much. Perfect. So decoy. Heal 3 wounds. All enemies must attack you until your next action. And then suck it up and ambush will be the last 2 1-point maneuvers. I like that better. So we have suck it up. Heal 2 wounds. Simple enough. And then we have ambush, which ambush was, move 1 range band, deal 1 wound to target in new range band. Perfect. All right, cool. So the 1-point maneuvers are done. Simple as that. But now for the second one, we have decoy. Heal 3 wounds. All enemies attack you until your next action. I like that because I do actually want to go back through a lot of the other maneuvers that I designed for Steel Horizons, Badlands, and Starfang. That I want to kind of add things that more or less say, hey, you get this really good thing, but something bad happens too. Because I love the idea of, it's like, you have these very precious resources of stamina points, and I want you to think like, man, I can really do this really cool thing, but there is a consequence to it. Because that's kind of how the whole game works in general. Even when you're rolling to attack, rolling to do a check, at any time there could be a consequence. So that's kind of like a reoccurring theme throughout the Hydra system in general. So the more I think about it, I kind of love that idea that not every single one, every so often, there will be maneuvers, probably the higher point maneuvers, because they're more risky the more exertion you spend. But for the higher point maneuvers, you basically, these really cool things happen, but potentially something bad could happen as well. Which is more or less saying, listen, you can spend all these points to do this awesome maneuver and deal a shit ton of damage, but there's consequences to it. So I do like that. And I think maybe off stream, I might go back and do that for a couple Steel Horizons ones, Badland ones, and maybe even some of the ones here for Starfang. But we'll see. But with that now, we're down to only 1 2-point and 2 3-points. So we've got basically a lot of these maneuvers kind of already taken care of. I have a great idea. I have a fantastic idea for a 3-point maneuver. I'm going to call it See It My Way. And it's a 3-point maneuver. So you roll, so choose 1 target. Roll 1d12. On a roll of 6 or higher, target attacks one other target of your choice. On a roll of 5 or lower, it attacks you. I love that. Because I'd imagine... So beans. You make a beans maneuver. So I'm imagining now, as a bounty hunter, again, basing everything off of Book of Boba Fett, 'cause I love that fucking show. It's the way of saying, listen, you don't want to fight me. You want to fight them. I can pay you more. And you roll a d12. And if they believe it, they're like, fuck, I do. And they shoot them instead. But if they don't, they're like, fuck you. And they shoot you instead. So I think that's really cool. I'm absolutely using that for a 3-point maneuver. So that'll be a 3-point maneuver. We'll call that See It My Way. Love it. Boom. All right, cool. So I need 1 more 3-point and 1 more 2-point. What is something else a bounty hunter would want to do? So we've got a lot of tech stuff. We've got a little bit of negotiating. Tracking skills. I want to try. What's a good way to illustrate tracking in combat? Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call this one Weak Spot. And choose 1 target. Target takes +2 wounds on next 2 attacks. So I'd imagine this is kind of the way the bounty hunter is saying, like, you know, like kind of eyeing down a target and seeing like there's a chink in the armor there, or there's an opening there, like, you know, they're on their front foot, like, you know, shoot the back foot or whatever you want to say. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So this will be the last 2-point maneuver. Oops. Let's call this weak point. Choose one target. Target takes +2 wounds on next 2 attacks. Perfect. So now I need one more 3-point maneuver for a bounty hunter. And again, 3 points is like your ultimate, like you're throwing it all to the wind, basically. You know what? I'm stealing everything from fucking Boba Fett. Rocket Punch. Oh, I have a great idea. Okay. Choose one target. For every range band moved to engage. All right. So what I'm trying to say here is so you choose a target, and for every range band you move to get engaged with the target, you deal times whatever wounds. So to target deal. So we'll say deal 3 wounds. So technically, okay. So choose one target. For every range band moved to become engaged with target, deal 3 wounds. So there's engaged, mid, and long. So yeah. So technically, if you're engaged to engage, you've moved 1, so 3. If you're engaged to mid, that's 6. If you go from engaged to long, you fucking deal 9 wounds just to 1 hit. I love that. That's it. Abso-fucking-lutely. Well, no, because you're not moving. I gotta find a better way to word this, because if you're already engaged, then because I want you to deal 3 wounds if you're already engaged, then 6, then 9. So how would I word this? All right, well, I hope you guys understand where I'm going with this, because I'm trying to figure out a better way to word this, because as of right now, this is based upon you moving, which you may not necessarily have to move. Choose one target in engage. No, choose one target. Got it. Choose a target. I don't know how to word it. I don't know how to word it better. Yeah, that's the thing I run into a lot, where I have the idea in my head and I know what I want it to do, but like I can't figure out the way mechanically to word it. So like I said, like we all know what I want it to do, and it makes sense. I just struggle coming up with a way to figure out a way to show that mechanically. So choose one target. Deal 3 wounds for every range band away, maybe? Deal 3 for every range band away the target is. Crow's the wordsmith? Yeah. Agreed. Deal 3 wounds for every range band away the target is. So if it's engaged, same, 3. That doesn't really explain it that well. I'm gonna leave it like that for now, and we'll come back to it because we know what it wants to do. And I can always come back to it and figure that out later. Rocket Punch. There we go. Choose one target, deal 3 wounds for every range band away the target is. So I think that's pretty good. I think it's pretty good for the bounty hunter. So they've got a status effect, they've got a movement and a damage, they've got a heal for their 1 points, damage and burn, wounds, and then a buff. Yeah, I like that. I think that's good for bounty hunter. All right, well this, do I want to keep going? It's already been an hour, and we fully finished one archetype. Yeah, I think we're gonna keep this short. Because I want to try and keep my streams a little bit shorter, just a little bit more easier to digest. But yeah, so for now, we're gonna end the stream there as we've completed our bounty hunter archetype. But hopefully next time we come together, we can talk about the explorer, we can talk about the pirate. And we can talk about whatever this new one is that I name it in the future. Which also, another cool thing is, for those of you guys who are watching this live, I think most of the guys watching this live, you're already in my server, so you're good. For those who are eventually watching this on YouTube or wherever you're watching it, you can join the Gilded server, and you can get a hold of this information a lot earlier than many other people can. So let me just throw that in the chat real quick. If this is on YouTube, then it'll have it all in the description, all that fun stuff. But yeah, follow us on Twitter at WanPilGames, WANPIL Games. Check out our website, www.wanderingpilgrimgames.com, because we're fancy. We got a website, baby. But yeah, other than that, happy to have y'all come by, and I hope to see y'all soon. So hopefully next time I see you, we'll be working on some more Starfang. Could be working on some Badlands, some more Steel Horizons. There's plenty of Hydra settings to work on, and plenty of content